lovely people, Nina here. So this week I have decided that I'm going to be filming in front of my bookcase because I haven't filmed in front of my bookcase, and I was like, I'm just gonna try it out and see what it's like. I also went and got some used books at a used book sale, and I figured I would use it to talk about book consumption and overconsumption again, because it's become more prevalent with a newish, kind of newish, I guess, trend called book unhauling, and it's like a trend of unhauling mass amount of books and hauling a bunch. So I figured I would talk about that along with the three new books that I have got at a used book sale, because consumption and overconsumption, let's talk about it. So I'm going to talk about the books I got first. My local town had a used book sale, and so my mom, younger sister, and I all went, and I got 3 books, and then they also got books that I had wanted to read, so we're just gonna collectively share the wealth, share the books. So the first one I got was a Sidney Sheldon book, and this is The Doomsday Conspiracy. I don't know anything about Sidney Sheldon or his writing, but my mom was like, you'll probably like them. They're kind of a quick read and a fast-paced read, and just a good kind of story. So I got this one. I really don't know anything about it. It says, the witnesses standing at the edge of the field were staring in horrified silence, too stunned to speak. The scene that lay before them was a grotesque, primeval nightmare. So begins The Doomsday Conspiracy, Sidney Sheldon's 11th novel, and one that has been called the most ingenious and surpassing. Navy Commander Robert Bellamy is assigned to investigate the crash of a weather balloon in the Swiss Alps. All witnesses to the accident must be found and questioned. However, for Bellamy, it is the beginning of a journey of terror into the incomprehensible. I guess they're mysteries is kind of what it seems. This isn't normally my genre, but my mom was like, you'll like this. She was really insistent on it. So I picked it up. And I'm gonna give it a try. So this is Sidney Sheldon's The Doomsday Conspiracy. If you know anything about Sidney Sheldon or this book or his writing, I would love to know, because I don't. The next one I got was Jack Kerouac's On the Road. And these are all though I said they're all used books, but these are all in really nice condition. This one I'm excited about. It says, in its time, Kerouac's masterpiece was the Bible of the Beat Generation, the essential prose accompaniment to Allen Ginsberg's Howl. Now a modern classic, its American dream is nearer that of Whitman and than Scott Fitzgerald, and it goes racing toward the sunset with unforgivable exuberance, buoyancy, and autobiographical passion. Yeah, it just sounded really good. I've not read any Kerouac before. I feel like this is a crime. I should be reading Kerouac. I haven't read any Jack Kerouac, so I got this. My mom, again, has a copy of this, and she was like, Nina, you'll probably really like this. Her copy got water damaged because she spilled on it, but she still has it and still reads it, so she was like, you'll read this. You can have your own copy. So I got this one. Ooh. And then the last one I got was White Fragility, which is why it's so hard for white people to talk about racism. And I feel like this is a really important read, especially if you look like me. And especially too in the times that we're in this grotesque, awful Trump era that we are having to live through. It's always important to learn and to educate, and so there's that one. So these are the 3 books that I got at the used book sale. There were a lot of books, and just it's always so busy with people. The sale goes for like a week, I think, and it's always crazy busy. Everyone's always there. So 3 used books. This week, as I was scrolling on social media and doom scrolling as you would, I kept coming across different videos of people being like, I feel like it's a trend right now, especially in like the BookTok community and the BookTube community, of like read it or unhaul it. And it's mass amount of books that people bought, and book buying, of what I've noticed, and book reading, for some people has become more of like, not a hobby, but like a thing. It's become more of just like a consumption tool, and especially as like Americans, our society revolves around consumption. And so with something like books, I feel like people, with the rise of BookTok especially, have used it more as a way to just consume more. I say that sitting in front of my bookshelf, but it's, I don't know, I've grown up always loving to read and appreciating good books, whether it's like classic literature or something more modern or what have ya. But I feel like the trend of over consuming when it comes to books and reading has become really bad as of recently, and it has become more of like a trendy thing. And I see this too, especially when authors and publishers release different variations of the book, which is completely unnecessary. Or the trend of like the sprayed edges, and it's like the same exact book, it's just like the edges are pink or something. Or being able to buy the book at a local bookstore and instead buying it on Amazon. Like, there's just little things that I had noticed, and especially with this book trend of a massive book haul followed by my massive book unhaul, and like unhaul it. And if you go somewhere like Goodwill or any like thrift store, I guarantee you that you will be able to find at least 5 books in one section that the spine isn't even cracked, because it became more of like a thing rather than an enjoyment, a way to purchase something rather than to like really love it and enjoy it. And with this too, I also notice people have been talking about like the dumbing down of writing, and how, because we're so now, I hope I'm saying this right, but like what's the word I'm looking for? We're so like used to, I say weird, but the people consuming this literature are so used to just like buying more that there's less of a focus on the actual writing. Not for all books, by the way. I'm not saying all books, but newer novels, there's less of a focus on like the writing style and more of a focus on like dumbing down of the like literature. And I feel like it has to do with A, people not reading as much, B, people reading only because it's trendy, and like C, just the writing to sell a book instead of writing for it to be good. So if your book is trending on something like BookTok, again, this isn't all books, obviously, because there are a lot of very, very, very great authors out there, but if your book is trending somewhere on like BookTok or like BookTube, it feels like the publishers want to like push that and push that more because they want to have people consume more because they want more money, and it all revolves around money because American society is rooted in consumption. And I see this again going back to like the book haul and book on haul it. There are videos, especially on YouTube, because I try not to like subscribe to channels like this, but where they'll have a box, say from like Amazon, and they're like a massive book haul that I just got, and there'll be like 2-3 boxes from Amazon, which is a terrible company and known for waste and getting rid of small businesses and putting them out of business. But besides that, they'll have all of these books, and it'll be like, they'll buy like 50 books at one time or more, and you're not reading all of that. You just aren't. And then it becomes, again, an issue of consumption versus like overconsumption versus like physically like consuming. Does that make sense? Like, instead of consuming the writing, you're consuming the product. And then again, they're writing for these people that are viewing books as a trend rather than an enjoyment or like a hobby. And again, this isn't like everyone. I'm just generalizing as like an overconsumption issue. And I touched on this in my last video that I did about this, which I'll link down below or like up here if I remember, where it's becoming trendy to buy books and have like a physical book collection, and then instead of like, oh, I don't like this anymore, I don't like this trend of like reading, they have like all these books that they haven't read, which is very bad for the environment, and then they unhaul it. So they all end up at like a thrift store or wherever, a little library, and then it just becomes an overconsumption issue. And again, I've seen other people talking about how they're dumbing down writing, and I feel like this is part of the reason why, is because they're writing for the people that are over-consuming. And if people are actually like reading a lot of books, that doesn't mean you have to read like 200 books a year, but like if you're reading 1 or 2 books for like, because you actually enjoy doing it, it's something you love, versus just having it as like a consuming device, a way to consume, a way to buy something, as something to buy versus that, then it's just like an endless like cycle. And I noticed this with like certain, like even books that I have read. Luckily, some of them I like, if I'm not sure about a book, I will check it out from the library first. And I try to buy secondhand as much as possible, and not secondhand, but use the library as much as possible, just because like if I read a book and I'm like, I'm not sure about this, I then will like look at it at the library and then I'll maybe buy it. A lot of the books on my bookshelf right now are secondhand, and I'm not saying that you have to buy all secondhand, but I'm saying that instead of doing a massive book haul from somewhere like Amazon, we should instead be focusing our attention on things like small bookstores, little libraries, and regular libraries, especially now with Donald Trump and the whole tariff issue destroying our country. Supporting small business is more important now than ever. And so instead of buying 200 plus books on like Amazon, which is a terrible waste, consider using small bookstores and not consuming as many. You don't need to buy 200 books at one time, or like 100 or 50 even. Buying 1 or 2 books, actually reading it and enjoying it. Well, you don't have to enjoy it. You might not enjoy it. but actually like taking the time to like read it instead of like even skimming it or like whatever. Yeah. Just taking the time to read it and enjoying the process of reading and enjoying a good story versus just the consumption piece of it, I feel like is what we should be pushing and what we should be focusing on. And I do partially blame booktube like this and booktok for promoting, not everyone obviously, but promoting the idea of consumption versus like consumption of a physical product like a book versus consuming the information and consuming good literature, if that makes sense. I feel like this was a lot to ramble about, but I've seen so much on it, and the whole reason I started this channel was because I was frustrated with certain influencers on TikTok. This started with TikTok because I would see so many people purchasing large amounts of books just because they could and not necessarily reading them, and then on making a video about like my book on haul, and I'm like, are those spines even cracked? Like it was just so frustrating. And as an environmentalist too, it pains me so much to like see this and see people not care. And I feel like one of my biggest like advocacies that I always push for is environmentalism and protecting our planet as much as possible. And so something like this is just really horrible, and it really bothered me. So yeah, I'll probably keep coming back to this topic because it's something that I'm really passionate about and can talk about for a long time. But yeah, I'll wrap it up with that. That is going to be it for this week's video. Make sure this week to visit a local bookstore, visit your library, support the libraries because, again, Donald Trump's defunding that. So visit your libraries and visit little libraries in your neighborhood if you have them. And just try to borrow books or buy used books when you can, and don't overconsume. Overconsumption is killing our society and killing our planet, and I can't stand it. So yeah, my 3 little books. Yeah, that is it. Let me know what you think down below. Are you pro this book trend of like giant book hauls, or do you also see it as kind of ridiculous? Because if it's just me and I'm on my island alone, I guess that's fine. But I feel like I'm not alone in this. So, yeah. So that is it for this week's video. As always, free Palestine, free Sudan, free Congo, free all of the oppressed countries. We need to also be focusing on what's happening in those countries and helping as much as possible. And I will link, I have all of my links to Palestine, and I'll put more information down below on how we can help, because they shouldn't be starving to death and they shouldn't be getting bombed, and it's a horrible, horrific genocide that needs to be stopped. And so I will put information down below where you can find information on that. And that'll be it for this week's video. I love you all, and I will see you next Friday with a brand new video.